Hello and welcome to the big kickoff with Betfred, where you can get all the best tips and predictions, of course, from the Racing Post, alongside Mark Langdon and myself, talking the National League. Delighted to say Simon Grayson and the Racing Post non-league expert Andrew Wilsher. Guys, good to see you. Andrew, I'll start with you. Let's look at last season first. Obviously, the season was curtailed in April, but the lads hadn't played since March. There's no messing around there, was it? It was clearly what was going to happen financially was the right thing to do for them.
Yeah, I think it definitely was the right thing to do. I mean, a lot of these clubs, just in terms of like how they cope, it's very much match to match based. Well, not quite as doom and gloom as that, but a lot of it is based on those sorts of principles. And I think that it was like the right call for it. You know, unfortunately, some teams might feel a bit hard done by that decision, but that's football, and we just have to move on now.
Who were the teams for you?
What they were hard.
That would have been hard done by.
Ebbsfleet's certainly hard done by. They were relegated on goal difference, which is a massive reprieve for Maidenhead. And I think Fylde were in the playoff final last year, and they had an awful season. They were just starting to get things together. I think they won their last 2 matches, but season was cut short, and suddenly they find themselves back in the National League North. Yeah,
I spoke to Neil Ardley. He felt that they could have caught the top 2 as well.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't quite happen for them in the playoffs. Simon, how difficult will it be for the players to just kind of pick up? Because it's been so long, hasn't it, since they've been playing this type of quality football?
I think in terms of when you finish a season normally and then go into the next season, 6 weeks, 7 weeks off normally. These lads have had nearly 6 months off, haven't they? And then for their own mental health, the fitness side of it, they've got to keep them as prepared as they can do. So they'll probably be the fittest that they've ever been in terms of being on watt bikes and running the roads of wherever they're living. And it is going to be the football side of it, more the actual day-to-day training, how much are they going to get that into them, how many 11-a-sides can they have for when the season does start.
Let's talk about the teams then we think are going to be up there. And let's start with Notts County, because Neil Ardley did do a great job from what happened last season as well. He felt he perhaps could have got them into the top 2. Didn't quite happen. 1 game off, of course, with Wembley. Players didn't play well at all in that final. Can he take them one step further?
I think so. I mean, he's a pretty big manager, really. I think he's proven himself in the Football League. So, for him to be sort of down in the National League and actually, in terms of staying in that job, because I think you get a lot of times where there's this constant changing. You've got to change the manager, you've got to change all the players over. So I definitely think that he's of one of the higher calibre managers in that level. I was actually with him at Sandown a couple of years ago. He likes his horse racing, there's Neil, and I wish him the best of luck, because I do think it was hard on teams that, I understand what Andrew's saying in terms of it was the right thing to do, but it's still really difficult, I think, to take if you feel hard done by and you've had the whole sort of 6 months to, have to stew over that, and then they didn't turn up in the playoff final. Harrogate are a good side as well, so it wasn't absolute shambles, but I still think they've got a team for me that should be in the top 2 this season, and they're not the favourites. There's been a lot of money for Stockport County. That might actually help Notts a little bit, because they are a big fish in that level. So, to have somebody else who's seen as the favourites might not be a bad thing either.
How do you see Stockport? Ambitious chairman?
Yeah, very much so. I think the signing of John Rooney from Barrow is a very strange decision from Rooney and from Barrow. Rooney was such a talisman for Barrow last season. Now he's dropping back down to the National League. But yeah, Stockport, they've been buying well, and certainly it's a real statement of intent. They are, although they were in the National League North for quite a few years, they are still a big club. They were in the Championship not a massive amount of time ago, and I do think that they will be up there, yeah.
It is a massive statement of intent, isn't it, to get John Rooney?
It is, and Connor Jennings from Tranmere as well. He was a pivotal part of their promotion at Tranmere from the National League. Did well into League 2 and then even League 1, playing regularly. So I think Stockport, people are now realising, if you've seen it from the outside, that there is this big generation of money going in from the new owners, because it's been quite well known within the football circles that these owners are really passionate, they're ambitious of what they want to do. And as you mentioned earlier, Andrew, that they weren't so long ago they're in the Championship. In fact, I was playing for them in the Championship on one of my loan spells, so I'm glad you said it was recent.
Who haven't you played for?
Well, there's a few, yeah. None of the big top six. But it is that expectancy level again, isn't it? Notts County, fantastic history of ex-Premier League club down there. And I think they will be stronger this year based on that a lot of turmoil behind the scenes, change of ownership, and then another year of steadying the ship and the same manager, as Mark mentioned as well, can lead to a level of consistency. So I don't think there'll be too much between them two teams, but I'm just thinking the money might just sway my bet in terms of Stockport's direction.
One signing for Notts County that, I mean, I don't know anything about him, but the numbers are pretty exciting. Ruben Rodriguez is his name. He's coming from Den Bosch in the second division in Holland. He scored 12 goals and had 10 assists last season. Hard to know where sort of the Dutch second division meets the National League because I would say teams at the bottom of the Eredivisie, the Dutch top flight, are probably sort of League One sort of kind of standard. I mean, Alan Pardew went in at that relegation level and was bringing in players of about League One standard. So I'm not quite sure how it works, but it caught my eye as a signing. I mean, 12. It's a goal crazy league, but it was still quite big numbers.
What do you think, Andrew?
I think Mark's bang on, spot on the money. Yeah.
Yeovil, strong at home, powerful side. Can you see them right up there at all?
I can, but again, I wasn't totally convinced by them last year, and I think that they could be a similar proposition this year. I went to see them one game that they played against Bromley, and they were a bit flat up top, and I think that could just play against them, especially as you point out, they weren't a great away side, and I think that could have another knock-on effect.
What about Hartlepool for you?
No. I feel like that their reputation's probably greater than the squad depth for them because they were obviously, they were another team that was knocking around the Football League for a long, long time, and I feel like sometimes when they drop down, teams don't realise how tough it is to come back, and it can be really, even big teams. I mean, Oxford, had their struggles, didn't they? And Hartlepool didn't do enough last season to suggest that they're suddenly going to go up. Would you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think that a lot of people almost get sucked in, particularly the bookmakers, in this is quite a big side that they're bound to be up there, similar to Chesterfield and Wrexham. A lot of people fancied them to be the big guns last year, and they were very flat. I think Barnet are going the wrong way. There's a lot of these teams who will be short in the market based on their reputation rather than what they're doing on the pitch.
What about Dagenham and Redbridge? The budget is there, isn't it? Will the players and the squad be there?
I really like Dagenham and Redbridge this year. They brought in Paul McCallum, who was prolific for Eastleigh a couple of years ago, and then he wasn't quite going too well for him at Solihull last year, but then he had a loan spell at Barnet and was looking really well. And they've also brought in Darren McQueen, who was the National League South top scorer from Dartford. So when you factor in McCallum and McQueen, they've also got Angelo Balanta out on the wing. They're a very positive attacking side, and I certainly can see them up there.
So where's the money come from for Dagenham?
So during last year, they were taken over by an American consortium fronted by Tim Howard, of all people, and that's really started pushing them in the right direction. They brought in Daryl McMahon, who's a pretty solid manager in my book, and then the results sort of started to turn around from January onwards, and I think that this year that they can be a real solid force.
So who do you feel will go up this year, Simon?
I think Stockport, to be fair. I think the money that they're going to have behind them, the players that they've already bought, and maybe what they will still go and do before the window shuts, they would be my favourites. I think, as I mentioned, I think Notts County will be there and thereabouts because of the steady progress that they've been rebuilding the football club again. So between them two, but my money at this moment would be on Stockport.
Mark?
I'm going to go the other way in the sort of battle of the big two, I suppose. I just thought Notts County, in terms of, they started last season really badly, just chaos off the pitch, as Simon alluded to earlier. They finished it quite well, and that, I think, from sort of where they kind of started last season, they're not in that place anymore. So take away the bad start, and I think they'll win the league.
Let's ask the real expert, shall we?
I'm going to sway in the favour of Mark and go with Notts County. I really like them last year. They had a bit of a dodgy start, but they really made up ground. They only lost 2 of their last 14 matches. Their last match in the league was actually a 2-0 away win at Barrow, so they've got all the right tools there. I think they were a bit hard done by in that Harrogate game, and if the season had continued, I could certainly have seen them pegging Barrow back and to an extent Harrogate, so I'm certainly leaning in their favour.
OK, let's talk National League South and North. What are your tips there?
National League South, I'm going with Dorking. I thought Dorking were very, very interesting last year. They just sneaked into the playoffs. They've actually got an owner-manager, Mark White. It's an incredible story where he just set up a Saturday team with his mates and it sort of got a bit out of hand, and now they've flown up the...
That's what you should do, Si.
And they've flown up the ladder. They've brought in a few good signings. They've brought in Barry Fuller, who was playing at Gillingham only last year, so, you know, League One down to the National League South. And they've made a few sort of signings like that. They've got a really exciting partnership up top, a couple of old players that were prolific at Bognor Regis 5 years ago, and they've rekindled their partnership, so I'm very excited to see how Dorking get on in the National League South.
And the North?
And in the North, slightly boring, but I'm going to have to go with York. I'm not sure what great value there will be, but I thought they were very unlucky last year not to go up. They're a massive club for that league, and again, if the season had continued, I certainly think that they would have pegged back Kings Lynn. Kings Lynn, the wheels were falling off towards the end of that season, so the season ended perfectly when it did for them. But York, they've still got a brilliant crop of players there, and I think that this will be their time to finally get back into the National League.
Any other bet at all you feel would be a decent bet?
Even though I've just slagged off Kings Lynn, I actually really like them for either a top half finish or a top 7 finish. You know, they've kept hold of Adam Marriott, who was their top scorer in the National League North last year with 28 goals. And I also think that geographically, they're not that far away from Norwich in the Championship, Kings Lynn in the National League. They've already brought in a couple of players on loan from Norwich, and that sort of dealings could certainly push Kings Lynn comfortably into mid-table in the National League.
There's someone I know very well from that area, Paul Warne, the Rotherham manager. He'd
Oh,
be
yeah?
absolutely delighted to be saying that. Andrew, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Mark and Simon, as ever, thank you very much. OK, next time we'll chat Champions League, Europa League, and also the European leagues, the top ones around the continent. Of course, remember, if you do decide to bet, please bet responsibly.